Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the 11th meeting of the House State Government Committee. I now call this meeting to order. Madam Secretary, would you please call the roll?
Representative Bojanowski.
Here.
Representative Bowling. Representative Bratcher.
Here.
Representative Chester Burton. Representative Graham.
Here.
Representative Heath.
Here.
Representative Heverin.
Here.
Representative Herron.
Here.
Representative Hodgson.
Here.
Representative Huff.
Here.
Representative Johnson.
Here.
Representative Maddox.
Here.
Representative Rawlings.
Here.
Representative Tate. Here. Representative Tipton. Representative Williams.
Here.
Representative Witten.
Here.
Representative Imes.
Here.
Representative Hale.
Here. We do have a quorum today, and we're constituted to do business in this committee. Before we begin, I ask everybody to please bow your heads with me for just a moment. Father, we thank you for this day. We ask you to bless this meeting and everything that we do in the name of Jesus. Amen. Would you please stand and as we pledge allegiance to our flag this morning? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you very much. You may be seated this morning. I want to remind everyone, please, to silence your cell phones, to all the members of our committee and those in the audience, so we won't have any interruptions, if you don't mind. If you do have to step out of the room as one of the committee members, please remind me when you come back if you happen to miss a vote on something, and we'll make sure that we get that recorded. Before we begin, does any of the members on the committee this morning have any guests that you would like to recognize? Representative Heverin.
Thank you, Chairman. I would like to welcome my jailer, one of my jailers, Big Josh, there in the back, Josh Lindblom. Please make him feel welcome today. He's the heart.
Anyone else? I would like to take this time this morning to recognize my County Judge Executive that is here in attendance with us this morning. County Judge Executive Rick Stiltner from Menifee County. Let's make Judge Stiltner welcome this morning. Again, welcome to everybody. Appreciate you being here with us this morning. The first item on our agenda this morning in our meeting is Senate Bill 259, which is sponsored by Senator Harper Angel. Senator Harper Angel, would you please come to the table with your guests at this time? We welcome you to our committee. Senator, if you don't mind to please introduce yourself and then have your guests introduce themselves for the record, and then the floor will be yours, ma'am.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, and thank you for the opportunity to speak with you this morning on Senate Bill 259. I'm Denise Harper Angel, State Senator of 35th District in Jefferson, and I will allow my guests to introduce themselves for the record.
Go ahead, ladies.
Good morning. I'm Laura Douglas, the interim president and CEO of the West End Opportunity Partnership.
And I'm Amy Covage. I am a lawyer with the law firm Tack on Meek, but I am counsel for the West End Opportunity Partnership.
Again, thank you, ladies, for being with us. Senator Harper Angel, the floor is yours. You may proceed.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The West End Opportunity Partnership was created by the legislature in 2021. Senate Bill 259 was drafted after a meeting with Laura Douglas, the interim president and CEO of the partnership, and the partnership attorney, who's also with us today. Simply put, Senate Bill 259 clarifies KRS 65.503, Section 4, that the board can determine the process by which they select their members. And if there are any questions, I would refer them to my guests.
Motion on the bill.
We do have a motion, and we have a second, but before we proceed there, we do have some questions. Representative Hodgson, you may proceed, sir.
Just curious what problem or circumstance led to the need for this bill? Was there?
In September of this year, the board passed a bylaw change which gave it the right to request at least 2 names of possible replacements as certain board seats became vacant. And as it happened, we had one member who did not abide by the new bylaw change. And it became clear that it was necessary to have some teeth to enforce that new process. And the new process was designed to give the board the ability to make the best possible selection for service on the board.
Thank you.
Representative Bojanowski, did you have a question, please? Yes, ma'am. Go right ahead.
Yes. Are there any groups or agencies who are against this bill?
Groups are agencies.
To your knowledge?
To my knowledge, there are 2 board members that voted against the bylaw change, and they continue to be against that change and presumably against the bill.
Representative Bojanowski, if I could just, before we proceed, we do have someone that is going to speak in opposition today, but we will take these questions first, and then we will proceed that route. Representative Herron, you are next in the queue, please.
Thank you, and thank you all. Representative Bojanowski kind of answered or asked the question that I wanted regarding the bylaw change. Can you just give us more information about the process of that change? Was that the entire board, or was that a subcommittee, or just how did that bylaw change come about?
Okay. We have a board development committee, and the responsibility of that board development committee is to surface names as board seats become vacant. That committee, in one of its meetings, designed the new process. And this was with the assistance of one of the organizations, I understand now, who has objected to the new process. But in any event, their representative was instrumental in the design of the new process. The committee reported out to the full board at the board's September meeting, and the board voted to adopt the new bylaw and process at the September meeting. And the vote was favorable. There were 2 individuals who voted against the new process at the September meeting. So it emerged from committee, was presented to the board, and the board adopted it.
Yes, ma'am. Go ahead.
Thank you. Two questions. Who are the 2 board members or groups, if you can disclose that information? And are there any other changes that you all would think that would need to happen to this legislation in order to make the WEOP work in the future?
Okay. To your second question, I think much depends on the future, what we encounter as we begin to operate and to sponsor projects. At this point, this particular piece of legislation is all that we are asking the legislature to assist us with now. And regarding the 2, okay, the NAACP representative, I believe, and the Urban League representative voted against the new process.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Representative Rollins, you're next.
When reading the bill, I was curious. It struck me why he's uniquely qualified and why he has such authority to name the board members. You could have a Republican or Democrat governor. They could be from Eastern or Western Kentucky or Northern Kentucky. But what qualifies the governor to name so many of the board members in such a specific area like the West End of Louisville?
Well,
I believe you're referring, Representative Rawlings, I believe you're referring to the initial appointments which were done by the governor when this was first created. Those were done by Governor Beshear at the outset of the creation of the partnership. But once that initial board was created, we are now under the provision of sections 3 and 4, where the board is now self-perpetuating. And so the governor doesn't do the appointments anymore. The governor has one appointment for his representative on the board, just like the mayor and Metro Council, but the governor isn't going to be doing the appointments on an ongoing basis. The board will be perpetuating those appointments themselves.
Okay, good. Thank you for that explanation.
Representative Tipton.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I apologize for being late this time of year. My previous meeting ran a little long. I live in Spencer County. I'm in the Louisville media market. When this was presented, what was it? I forget. A couple of years ago when we passed this, I was wholeheartedly supportive of this measure because I understand the unique challenges that the west end of Louisville has. Being in the media market, I read a lot of news stories. I hear a lot on TV. And you mentioned the two who are against. I hear a lot of discussion about people in the community who have reservations and concerns. Could you address a little bit about how the community is engaging in this and how that process is going, and I guess I know it's early in your work, but do you have one specific initiative that you all been able to, that's your gold star you're looking to get to first, and could you kind of share that with us?
Well, the legislation requires all projects that are supported by the West End Opportunity Partnership to be based on feedback from the folks in the 9 neighborhoods in West Louisville. We are in the process now of hosting those 9 neighborhood meetings. In fact, we have had one earlier this week, and we have one scheduled on the calendar for tomorrow. In those meetings, people in the neighborhood share with us the types of projects that they'd like to see us do. They share with us the specific interest groups and neighbors that they want us to zero in on. For instance, there's a marked interest in the elderly. There's interest in activities and locations for young people. There's also an interest in educational opportunities and support. So we are currently in our feedback session, and we are getting a wealth of information that will inform us about the types of projects in which we should invest. And we are anticipating that as we finish those meetings this late spring and the balance of this year, we will then initiate our first investment projects. Mm-hmm.
I see no further questions to this. Yes, ma'am, you may go right ahead, please.
Thank you, Chair. What would be the consequence of us not passing this legislation today? Or through the process, this legislation?
Mm-hmm. We are in a very unseemly circumstance where we have folks who are sitting on the board who do not believe that they have an obligation to abide by the board's bylaws. If this piece of legislation is not passed, those individuals will feel empowered to continue to be abstinent and to continue in their failure to give the organization its due respect.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Representative Chester Burton, and this will be the last question in this round because we do have someone coming to speak in opposition. We are actually on a time schedule today. We have to be vacated this room by 11 o'clock. So, Representative Chester Burton, please proceed.
How many board members do you have?
There are 21 seats on the board.
And what are the term limits?
As we started out, the term limits were staggered. There were some people who served 2 years, some who served 4-year terms. All of that was specified by the statute. And as each term ended from the first round, then people would serve 4-year terms.
Are these paid board members?
No, they are not. By statute, board members serve without being paid.
Senator Harper Angel, if you don't mind, could you just have one of your guests? You may remain
Certainly.
as one of your guests. And we have Mr. Mike Nagel or Nagel. I don't know if Nagel. Would you come forward, sir, please? Would you please, sir, identify yourself for the record today, and then you may proceed.
I'm Mike Nagel.
The floor is yours, sir.
Thank you. Thanks, Chairman, and thanks, committee members. I represent the Portland neighborhood on the board for the West End Opportunity Partnership. I am here today to speak in opposition of Senate Bill 259. It is my understanding that the origin of this bill is the result of a WEOP staff member approaching this bill's sponsor, and the bill's sponsor believing that the WEOP board was both aware of the request and on board with it. This is not the case. The board voted to enact some bylaw changes in September of 2023, and I can only speak for myself, but thought the matter was settled until seeing this legislation filed. No attempt was made whatsoever to reach out to the board to address this issue or even indicate that there were any issues that needed to be addressed. The language in Senate Bill 259 goes far beyond our bylaw changes and allows for the removal of board seats for reasons that I find arbitrary and unjustified. It is my belief that our staff members should have brought their concerns to the WEOP governing board so that they could be discussed and resolved through the course of our usual work to build and operate this still new fledgling operation. The board is more than capable of handling these concerns, but it was never asked or given a chance to. It would set the wrong precedent for the Kentucky legislature to get involved with the settling of grievances, especially by setting into law rules that will constrict the organization now and in the future. It is beneath this body to become the arbiter of squabbles or disagreements between staff and board members, or even board members and other board members, especially when those concerns were never brought to the board for consideration. The West End is often told that they need to take their neighborhoods back. If the House of Representatives represents the people and gives them a tool to do exactly that, then it should not stand in their way or move the chess pieces when they try. Please give the board time to resolve this issue, and if they can't, then you can intervene if necessary. The senator who represents most of the West End voted against this bill. You should too. Thanks for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Nagel. If you don't mind, please, you can step away from the table. If you don't mind, you can vacate the seat, please. Seeing no further questions, yes, ma'am, Senator Harper Angel, you may go ahead if you'd like to respond.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'd just like to respond with the fact that after meeting with Ms. Douglas, I carried the bill, per her information, as a vote was 10-2, and as a member of state and local government. I have gotten a few emails, but I've also gotten a lot of positive information and feedback back.
Mm-hmm. Well, let me just say, being from the eastern part of the state, I certainly do not have as much knowledge as many of my colleagues on this committee do, being from Louisville. But I do appreciate you bringing the bill before us this morning. Having a motion made by Representative Heverin and a second by Representative Johnson, Madam Secretary, please call the roll.
Representative Bojanowski,
Pass.
Representative Bowling, Representative Bratcher,
Yes.
Representative Chester Burton,
Pass.
Representative Graham,
I'm going to vote yes. I think that we need to proceed and continue on with this, and hopefully things can be worked out as you continue the continuation with this. So I'm voting yes.
Representative Heath,
Yes.
Representative Heverin,
Yes.
Representative Heron.
May I explain my vote?
Yes, ma'am.
This is a very difficult situation. I believe that anytime that there's local conflict and issues, that should be dealt with on the local level. I want, with all of my heart, for the WEOP to work. I think that it's a great opportunity for the residents of the West End. I am going to pass today and hopefully gather more information before the floor vote. Thank you.
Representative Hodgson, Representative Huff,
Yes.
Representative Imes,
Yes.
Representative Johnson,
Yes.
Representative Maddox,
Pass.
Representative Rawlings,
Pass.
Representative Tate,
Yes.
Representative Tipton,
Pass.
Representative Williams,
Yes.
Representative Witten,
Yes.
Representative Hale.
Yes. Senate Bill 259, having received 11 yes votes, 0 nay votes, 7 pass votes, does pass favorably from this committee. Thank you, Senator, for being with us today and your guests that were with us. Thank you so much. The next item on our agenda today is Senate Bill 283, sponsored by Senator Higdon, an act relating, to correctional services. Senator Higdon, would you please come to the table? And I see you have guests with you. If you don't mind, Senator Higdon, I will allow you to introduce yourself first and then have both of the gentlemen to your right and left introduce themselves.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Members of the committee, I have with me today James Daly with the Kentucky Jailers Association and Barry Brady of Marion County Jail, and I'm Senator Jimmy Higdon, 14th Senate District.
Senator Higdon, there is a committee substitute. Is there a motion to adopt the proposed committee sub? There's a motion made by Representative Johnson.
Second.
A second by Representative Tate. Representative Bojanowski, you may proceed with your question. I know what it is.
You know what it is. Rep. Tipton also knows. So could you explain the difference between the original bill or the bill that came to us and the committee sub, please?
The committee sub has the closed jails. It allows them, there was some concern that a closed jail, and if one of these jails that contracted with the state would raise the closed jails rate, the sub simply says that the rate for the closed jails cannot increase more than 10% a year.
Having a motion and a second to adopt the proposed committee substitute, all in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed, same. The committee the motion passes to adopt the committee substitute to Senate Bill 283. Senator Higdon, you may proceed as long as you'd like, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Senate Bill 283 establishes a framework for Kentucky Department of Corrections to contract with county fiscal courts or local and regional correction authorities to provide correctional services to state prisoners in jails or regional jails. Contracts must not exceed 24 months, and they should maintain a per diem rate of no more than 5% over the actual cost of services. Contracts must include provisions such as medical care beyond routine services, ensuring compliance with regulations, maintaining medical staff presence, offering mental health services, submitting monthly reports, and implementing training and professional development. Mr. Chairman, this is pretty much brought about by the state is currently paying jails $35.34 a day. And this, in the fiscal note, it shows that the average cost to house a state prisoner is $44.97 a day. Back when I was in the grocery business, if you sold something below cost, you had to get a bigger truck. But with that, jokes aside, jails cannot provide the services that inmates need to be able to have a chance to when they are released not to come back. And a lot of local jails are providing those services at a cost to their own county. This simply gives those jails that want to go beyond the call of duty to contract with the state for additional money for the services that they offer. And like I said, I have two outstanding jailers with me, the Jailer Association and Barry Brady. If they want to make a comment, Mr. Chairman, if you'd allow.
Yes, I'd be glad to. Either one of you gentlemen
Go ahead, Barry.
may comment. Go ahead, please.
Thank you, Chairman Hale. First off is all of our jails across the state are very diverse. They're all different in sizes. They're all different in the amount of employees that we have working inside of them. They're different by the programs we offer. So there's no way that you can paint it with the same brush or the same color. And that's what the reason we're coming across with the language of a contract and doing that at a cost or no more than 5% of the cost. So that way we can actually cover and continue to proceed. The jails that can do those programs can continue on. But if it's on the status quo, the way it's going, it makes it more difficult for the ones that have multiple programs, and we hire degreed staff to work those programs, then we're coming up short on the actual payment of what we're providing for that. So, and I want to thank Senator and Chairman Jimmy Higdon for sponsoring this and always being a champion for local jails.
Sir?
I don't really have a separate statement. I can ask any questions that I might be able to for you.
We do have a couple of questions at this time. Representative Johnson, you may proceed.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Chairman Igman, thank you for bringing this bill, and I also am one who likes to champion our local jails. I just want to clarify exactly the scope of this bill, if we may. Does this have anything to do with pretrial confinement costs or anything like that, or is this just a separate bill entirely?
This is a separate bill where the jails can simply contract with the state for a higher rate than the $35 a day if they're providing the services, and if the Department of Corrections okays the contract. It's not a shall do it. The corrections can either accept it or not. And one of the things in the fiscal note, it came back, if you read that, it says it was going to cost a lot of money. But they looked at every jail in the state providing all the things that were required of the jails that contracted. And I questioned that, and they did come back and said it was indeterminable, but likely positive, according to the Department of Corrections, with the current, if they did the fiscal note by what the bill actually says, not including all jails.
Follow up briefly?
Yes. Briefly.
So effectively, this is simply contracting with the state for services, providing services that are going to be beneficial to the inmates. Is that
That's correct?
Quick summary.
And allow jails to add the services or programs that inmates need to have a chance when they leave jail to be able to not come back. I know Jailer Brady says every time an inmate leaves, "I love you, but don't come back." And
I think you answered my question, Chairman. I appreciate that. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
I think that's a great comment, but that doesn't happen that's not always true, sir, is it? Representative Herron.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you all. I served on the jail and prison task force in the interim, and I know that the staffing and the overcrowding and the pay, the per diem was issues that were brought up, and so I do thank you all for bringing this bill. I do have two questions. On page 2, line 11, it talks about that the jail should require individuals access to exercise and recreational activities. Are most jails fit for that? Do they have space and room for that recreational time for our folks who are incarcerated?
And I'll let some of these that know jails better than I, but if you don't have those facilities, you would not be able to do this contract. You have to have the facilities to do it. And unfortunately, some jails don't have all the facilities needed. But one of the things that this does, it again allows jails to provide programs that gets the inmate good time, and that with good time they can get out of jail sooner rather than later, and it saves the state a lot of money, and it gives the inmates some tools to work with when they're released. And I know Marion County Jail, I can tell you, they had offer a lot of programs, including GED and SOAR Mentor, MRT, that's Moral Recognition Therapy, MRT Mentor, MRT Parenting, MRT Staying Quit, MRT Thinking for Good, MRT Trauma, Untangling Relationships, Portal, New Directions, and SAP, which a lot of them offer the SAP program, and the GED. That's, a simple GED is very important. If an inmate doesn't have a GED, it's a perfect time to get it while while you're incarcerated, you have plenty of time.
Yep.
Motion on the bill.
I have one follow-up, Mr. Chair.
Yes, go ahead, please.
The other question I have, I believe on the correctional impact statement, on closer to the end of it, it talks about, I guess in a committee sub previously, that it removed the requirement for classification staff to be added to each jail. Can you talk more about that? I know one of the big issues during that task force that they talked about was the lack of individuals being classified. So can you just talk a little bit more about that?
I think in the original bill that it said the classification officer had to be part of the contract. As we went along, that was removed, and Barry can.
Yes, Representative Harrington. That portion of it, when they did the impact statement, showed to be several $1 million just to try to staff that throughout the jails, how many jails we have across the state. So it was removed, actually making that a requirement for the state to do. But classification remains a very important task. And we have to have those relationships between the county jail employees and the state to work at, but that classification is done by the state.
Thank you, and I'll just in closing, we'll just say that I look forward to hopefully working with you all this summer. I do think that is an important piece that we need to figure out, no matter what that price is, because once those individuals, for people who don't know, once they are classified, then that's when we know for sure they have access to those programs. And if we really want our folks to come out ready and rehabilitated, that should be one of our priorities. So I look forward to working with you all to hopefully deal with that next session. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you, Representative Harrington, and thank you for serving on that task force. I know y'all logged a lot of time on that.
Representative Whitten.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Senator. I have a quick question of clarification. Section 1, 4C, it says the department shall be financially responsible for any maintenance medications and any necessary medical, dental, or psychological care beyond routine care and diagnostic services of state prisoners. Who determines the necessity of those?
I'm going to turn
services?
to the experts on that.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you for the question. What I would tell you is that the hope is that will be ferreted out in the regulation. That's one of the issues that we deal with now. And this will provide us the opportunity to work more closely with corrections. The belief is now that if they have to stay in the hospital for 24 hours and or if they have to have surgery, they have to be sedated, it's not the correct word, but they have to be put under and have surgery before corrections will be responsible. So you could be in my jail and be getting blood transfusions on a daily basis, and corrections doesn't feel like, and their interpretation is that they're not to be responsible for that. I would tell you that the jail's interpretation, routine medical care, is a sniffles, a cold, if you have a small laceration, something that we do at the jail. If we have to take them to the hospital for work, that, in our opinion, is not routine medical care.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Representative Tipton.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I have a comment and a couple questions. I'll try and be brief.
Please.
Senator Higdon, I appreciate the committee sub. You and I both represent a community, a county that has a closed jail. My other county has a closed jail as well. I was just talking to Judge Travis recently. He was lamenting the fact, the notice of increase he was going to get for housing jails, I believe, in the Shelby County system. So this is a big issue, tough issue. One question I have, we're talking about state prisoners and the care they will receive. Jails also house local prisoners. Is it the expectation that these local prisoners will be afforded the same amenities as described for state prisoners?
I would say no. The prisoners that are waiting trial are incarcerated and I think the Constitution says that the county is responsible for that until they're convicted. I think I'm correct on that.
Yes, Representative, and he is correct. But at the same time, we do offer programs and stuff for detainee inmates as well. Especially, my facility is 297 beds. I have 128 of the beds are contracted SAP beds, and I have another 80 beds that's contracted with the state for SOAR, which is an aftercare from the original. But our GED is offered to both. It's offered to the regulars as well as the detainees as well as the sentence inmates.
Mr. Chair, if I could have a follow-up.
Yes, go ahead, please.
Jim, you and I have worked a lot in the past on jail issues. You understand I had a constituent who lost a child, was charged with a drug charge, going through withdrawal, unfortunately died in a jail. And I see in here it talks about having medical staff present, and it also talks about that we had a training bill, and it talks about training. Is it your anticipation that through the Jailers Association and regs to specify what this training will be?
And I think you already know my answer to that question. Absolutely. It's going to be imperative upon us. And I guess the big part of that is, different jails are fortunate in many ways and some unfortunate, because those things all come with a price tag. But we can at least do better. And I think that's the key. I have 24-hour medical, and I have a doctor that comes in several days a week. So I am one of the very fortunate jails. But some, the smaller counties don't have that opportunity. So those are the ones that I think we as an entity, the Jailers Association, will work together to improve and be able to provide those additional services for people that come in.
Seeing no further questions, we do need a second on the motion. Second. Motion was made by Representative Johnson. The second was made by Representative Whitten. Before we do take the vote, Senator Higdon, I want to say also thank you for this. As Representative Herron said, me and her, we both served on that jail task force this summer, and we did spend a lot of time on that. I think we had either 7 or 8 meetings. I'm not sure which one it was, but there was a lot of time spent there, and we heard these concerns brought to us through those meetings. And actually, as Representative Tipton said, having 2 closed jails in my district, my legislative district, and I think this is really going to help them a considerable amount, and I really appreciate the language in the committee sub that addresses that, and I want you to know we do appreciate that very much.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Madam Secretary, please call the roll at this time.
Representative Bojanowski,
Yes.
Representative Bowling, Representative Bratcher,
Yes.
Representative Chester Burton,
Yes.
Representative Graham,
Yes.
Representative Heath,
Yes.
Representative Heverin, Representative Herron,
Yes.
Representative Hodgson, Representative Huff,
Yes.
Representative Imes,
Yes.
Representative Johnson,
Yes.
Representative Maddox,
Yes.
Representative Rawlings,
Yes.
Representative Tate,
Yes.
Representative Tipton,
Yes.
Representative Williams,
Yes.
Representative Whitten,
Yes.
Representative Hale.
Yes. Senate Bill 238, as amended by the committee substitute, receives 18 yes votes, 0 no votes, passes favorably. Thank you very much, sir. We appreciate that.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee.
The next item and the last item on our agenda today is Senate Bill 376, sponsored by Senator Elkins. It is an act relating to reorganization of the Department of Law and declaring an emergency. Senator Elkins, would you please come to the table at this time with your guest? Senator Elkins, if you don't mind, sir, please introduce yourself for the record, and then have each one of the both of the guests that are with you to introduce themselves.
I am State Senator Greg Elkins of the 28th Senate District.
I'm Stacy Woodrum. I'm with the Office of the Attorney General.
Good morning, Mr. Chair, members of the committee. Will Schroeder, Senior Counsel for the Attorney General's Office. Thank you.
Well, good morning to each one of you, and again, we're glad to have you in our committee meeting this morning. Senator Elkins, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you, members of this committee. I certainly appreciate your time this morning. I'm here to present Senate Bill 376. That is a bill that simply amends KRS 15015.010 to make some technical changes to the Office of the Attorney General, and I have some guests here to explain to you what those changes are.
Second.
There has been a motion made by Representative Tipton and a second by Representative. Mr. Schroeder, would you like to continue or would you like to stop?
I know when to stop, Mr. Chair. Thank you.
You have been in this business long enough, you know when to stop, correct? Well, Senator Elkins, you being my senator, this is my senator, ladies and gentlemen, and I thought I was going to get him some really tough questions, but he only got to speak for 45 seconds. So having a motion and a second. Oh, we do have a question. Representative Herron, go right ahead, please.
Thank you. I just have one question. On the first page, it changes litigation into investigations. Can you just give a brief overview of like what, as far as the investigations piece, what would that allow the AG's office to do?
Did Chairman Hill put you up to that question?
He did not. But I've got some things that I would like the AG's office to work on, so that was the reason why I'm asking.
Thank you for the question. We do have a Department of Criminal Investigations currently. One of the visions of the current Attorney General is to help elevate that department, really bring it on the same level of what we tend to think about our criminal division, prosecution, our civil division, our Solicitor General's office, and this helps elevate that Department of Criminal Investigations as well.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Representative. That was a good question. You don't have another. We still have 17 minutes. We could keep Senator Elkins here for a while, but seeing no further questions, Madam Secretary, please call the roll.
Representative Bojanowski,
Yes.
Representative Bowling, Representative Bratcher,
Yes.
Representative Chester Burton,
Yes.
Representative Graham,
Yes.
Representative Heath,
Yes.
Representative Heverin, Representative Herron,
Yes.
Representative Hodgson, Representative Huff,
Yes.
Representative Imes,
Yes.
Representative Johnson,
Yes.
Representative Maddox,
Yes.
Representative Rawlings,
Yes.
Representative Tate, Representative Tipton,
Yes.
Representative Williams,
Yes.
Representative Whitten,
Yes.
Representative Hale.
Yes. Senate Bill 376 passes with 18 favorable votes, 0 votes against. Should do the same on the House floor. Thank you, Senator Elkins, and your guests with us this morning. Appreciate you being with us. To the members of the committee, before you do exit, I want to just take a moment. I believe we probably, I think I said that last week, but we will likely have another meeting because members of the House, the Senate folks keeps bringing bills our way. So it's very, very possible we could have another meeting next week. But if not, I want to thank all the members of this committee for serving on this. And I would like for us as the members to recognize our staff that has done an incredible job and doing all the work. And we do appreciate the staff so very much. Call them at 9 o'clock of a night and say we need a change on this. They're right there to do that. So again, thank you all, and thank you, members. Seeing no further business today, we are now adjourned.